Welcome back to the Fan Speak Network and another episode of Sibling Showdown. And of course, now Sibling Showdown is the Underdog Battle Royale edition. That's right. Underdog Fantasy offers the Battle Royale. My brother Steve and I love playing it. So I'm, of course, joined by my sibling, my brother Steve. Steve, how did Battle Royale go for you on Underdog Week 7? And are you ready for Week 8?
Week 7, the wrap up would be very close. Definitely had some hits, but just always seem to be missing that one key piece.
Yeah. And that's what's so crazy. And what makes it so fun is that you can be so close. There's only 6 positions. We talked about, if you missed it, go back to our episode last week. We covered strategies. We covered the full breakdown, but basically you're starting a quarterback, running back, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 6 positions, no bench. You draft 6 positions. You're drafting with 5 other people. It goes fast. It's fun. You'll see that. We're going to do a live draft here. And because you're only drafting 6 positions, it just makes it fun. If you nail 3 or 4 of them, you can be really close. And, that's how you and I obviously cashed with some Mahomes Kelsey stacks, which we talked in last week's show. So again, check out those strategies, those, full breakdown and intro. And then as you see, we'll do a draft today and you'll see, really how a battle royale draft goes. And we'll, talk through strategies as we're doing a live draft. But what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the Week 7 winner and kind of top few. And it'll speak to some of the strategies we talked about. And because a couple are like glaring that we actually talked about, Steve. And then we'll look at rankings and then we'll jump into a draft. So Steve, I'm pulling up the Week 7 results. And first, I'm going to pull up the first place team. And it was Lamar Jackson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Donta Foreman, Puka Nacua, Mike Evans, and Travis Kelce. Now, I bring this up because this stands out for our 3 main points last week. When we talked about strategy, we talked about we lean into 2 running backs. So running back with our flex. So 2 running backs more than 2 of another position, right? That was kind of your number 1 strategy, right, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it's not going to be for every lineup you see in the top, few lineups every week. It's not going to be every week, but a lot of weeks and a lot of top lineups feel like it's more 2 running back heavy. So I do like that approach. Again, it's not 100%, but I do like leaning into that. This shows it. Number 2, you talked about, especially at like a onesie position, if a player can outperform, lap the field like a Travis Kelce, it's worth, drafting high. He went second in the draft we were in. We had the 3rd spot. We were going to target him. And you and I both got him in other drafts. And that's the ones we cashed in because you basically needed Travis Kelce last week. He absolutely lapped the field with 29.9 underdog points. The 3rd point is I'm going to highlight the running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, Donta Foreman especially. You made a great point last week that you don't have to just follow ADP. A lot of times in best ball, you're looking for ADP value. That's not what these underdog battle royales are. When you're doing a snake, yes, it's snake draft style for the week, and you use your process for daily fantasy and know your top plays and make your rankings, but you do the snake draft style and you don't have to feel like you have to stick to that ADP. I'm sure Donta Foreman was not drafted in a lot of drafts. I'm not sure the percentage or anything like that, but the point being is it's okay to, go under ADP if you have a guy ranked higher. It's okay to draft a guy that might not be getting drafted a lot if you think he's going to be a top scorer. Bottom line is you need the top scorers at each position. Bottom line. It happened to be that Donta Foreman got 3 touchdowns. You needed him. Now, is that going to be every week that an undrafted guy who's undrafted at a high clip is in the optimal? No, not necessarily, but there's going to be plenty of weeks where you just it's not necessarily going to be those top 2 guys. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no. And I think that just speaking on the, that first lineup, the interesting thing was it was Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, as you see in the second lineup, actually had 1 more point, but, Mahomes was probably gone. I'm sure the guy wanted.
Right. He probably sure
Mahomes,
he wanted
him. But you don't just burn a lineup just because you missed your stack. Like this is the time where, a stack wasn't there. Mahomes clearly got taken ahead of him.
So he just went ahead and got Jackson. Yeah, exactly.
And so definitely, especially at these one specific positions like quarterback and tight end, getting the guys who can really separate is so key because you look at even running back, and Foreman was the number 1 running back, but Jahmyr Gibbs, was
Yeah.
close. And there was a lot of guys in the high teens, right around 20. Some who were not really owned, like say Kareem Hunt, others who were owned pretty significantly, like a Gibbs or a few others.
Right.
And same with like at the receivers position, we didn't really have any major alpha receivers last week, which is
Right.
part of the reason. Like a lot of the big names kind of failed or were just above average. And but even if they were went real, like let's say AJ Brown was on this slate, he wasn't going to lap the field the same way that Kelsey could, because only really Waller and Andrews kind of even came relatively close among the top 8 tight ends. And because only one tight end is getting drafted on a team, because tight ends almost never going to be in your flex, that means that, even if some rando low tight end went for 2-3 touchdowns, like he's just totally not owned. There's just 0 chance percent that he's going to be owned. So it's that kind of thing that can really, just really lap the field that way
and be a huge set. It's going to be the thing you have to finish in the top percentile with this kind of format. And those are the kind of things that you need to consider when you're drafting. Sure, you're not going to get to a situation like we had the 3rd pick, Kelsey went 2nd. You're not going to be able to get him every time, but when you get that opportunity to get him and you think he could lap the field, you have to take advantage of it. Because again, you're obviously assigned a draft position, just like best ball drafts and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think that was a really good point, that you were very high on Kelsey last week. You were right. I'm glad that I did, a Mahomes Kelsey stack, and it worked for me to get it. But like you said, if it doesn't happen naturally, fine. It worked here in the second one. They were able to get Mahomes Kelsey. They actually added Rice and Nakua, and then the same running backs. But you'll see a lot. I mean, it's not going to be obviously all the same, but you'll see the same themes. It's going to be all Mahomes Kelsey at the top. This one, again, Foreman wasn't drafted, so it was, but you're seeing a lot of 2 running backs. This one was Taylor Gibbs, Nakua Evans. Nakua Evans was a popular combination because if you're getting, it's all slate dependent, right? Like if you have to have Mahomes Kelsey or Lamar Kelsey, well, you're spending high capital there. So that's why you had to get okay, who are the receivers? And then obviously none of the stud receivers like Cup, and then went off. So then it was, okay, well, you had to have them at the top. Well, then who did you have to have in the middle? And so, you do have to nail all 6 picks to obviously finish in the top, top 10 or anything for the top major prizes. But, it is kind of dependent like that. And so that's okay. I remember when I drafted my Mahomes Kelsey team, I'm like, great. Now I have, receivers and running backs I'm not comfortable with. But again, you just had to have the right receiver. I had a Mahomes Kelsey Nakua in mine, one that I cashed in well, and it was a good cash, but obviously nothing major, because my 2 running backs and 1 other receiver, I can't remember them off the top of my head, were not optimal enough. So yeah, just scrolling through these, you're just going to see that same theme amongst all of these, a lot of 2 running back, the Mahomes Kelsey stack. And I think that's just something that we wanted to point out. Now, this is a 3 receiver, or no, this is actually, they did, and this is going to be rare, but
extremely rare.
The Kelsey Andrews situation, another 2 running back, Mahomes Kelsey, Nakua, Palmer. So, I think that's what's so interesting about that. Was the first one in the top 6 that ran it back with Palmer. Again, you don't have to force a run back. So, just scrolling through these just to see the nuances of it. Another one very similar. This one it was almost similar to the first or second one, just had Barkley instead of Foreman. So
that's the sole difference.
Yeah, it literally, that was the only thing different for the first place to 10th place, 9th place. So so let's look at rankings now for NFL for week 8. And so this, let me just double check. This is the main slate week 8. And so we're looking at the rankings, and as you can see, yet again, onesie position, he's standing out. Travis Kelsey against the Denver defense is right now top on ADP. Then down the list, you've got Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Patrick Mahomes. Then the 3 quarterbacks, Mahomes, Hurts, Jackson, and then Etienne, Andrews, Lamb to round out the top 10 or 12. Obviously, it's going to depend what you get. So if you're getting the top first 1 or 2 picks, I assume you're targeting Kelsey again this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kelsey's in just a tremendous spot. I do think Christian McCaffrey is pretty great, and I mean, AJ Brown is just on this crazy run, and he finally got the touchdown variance breaking his way this past week. Obviously, that can happen against Washington. We've seen them, give up just so many touchdowns through the air this season, and especially we saw just a couple of weeks ago they just gave up a slate breaking game to DJ Moore. So something like that happens.
He had a pretty big game against Washington 3 weeks ago or 4
Yeah,
weeks
but
ago.
I think he only had one touchdown in that game. If
Right.
he has 2 or 3, like
Yeah.
Moore did, or he had 2 in the Miami game,
Yeah.
the Sunday night. Like that's the type of thing that could vault him to the top. So, but yeah, at the one spot, I'd probably take Kelsey or McCaffrey, and
Okay.
because I think the differences between Hill, Brown, and Cup or Chase even are much more minor.
Yeah. Yeah. So you basically then have those 4 receivers ranked pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to go a lot of then, Kelsey and these receivers, or Kelsey, McCaffrey and these receivers in the top round, basically, or in the first round?
I think so. I mean, I think if you look at it, like if you highlight, I don't think we'll see quarterbacks go, just because I don't think there's a big gap between.
Yeah, it's looking like they're going more second round. Yeah.
But just in general, like I don't think you should, like even logically speaking, like we've seen Tua's major slate breaking upside. So those top 4 could all really break the slate. So I think you'd be fine, and especially if you're stacking. So go to running back.
Yeah, I think with quarterback, it just makes sense if you get an AJ Brown, sure, go for Jalen Hurts, the next round or something like that. But I don't think you have to force any of that, because there are some quarterbacks, But I mean, yeah, I think those 3 quarterbacks, just like Mahomes was last week, you may want to go, depending on what the stack is, and get your quarterback second round. But then I'm fine with guys like, Tua, Dak, some of the ones lower down. But I definitely see a case for drafting one of the top 3 in the second round. Go ahead. What?
Well, running back, I think, is the interesting one that could, I think, you can make a case for maybe ETN should sneak into like that 6th spot, just with the way his usage is. His goal line work is just incredible. And, as we see on this half point PPR,
touchdown hunting
is just so key. And Jacksonville's scoring a decent amount, and it's almost all coming on the ground. Yeah. And he still gets enough targets to be viable there also, that he might catch a touchdown. So
I'll tell you what, if you missed out on we talk about the 2 running back thing, and we'll just scroll down. I'm sure there are some value plays, and I'll ask you that in a second, like who could be this week's foreman, but there are a lot of just you can make a strong case for those 3 quarterbacks, those basically top 6 plays. You can make a strong case, like if you're able to go like receiver and 2 running backs, if you were able to work McCaffrey and somebody else in the top 3, if you're able to get 2 running backs in the top 3, I think you could have some elite scores, because I really like these top 6 running backs. Now, to that point, though, who would be, and again, we're going to then jump in a draft and watch this play out live, who would be guys down lower that could be, this week's Donta Foreman, that may go a little underlooked, underdrafted, and still be an option? I mean, Kareem Hunt, honestly, could be the only guy in Cleveland. I know there's still Pierre Strong, but
I think Kareem Hunt definitely makes a lot of sense. I think another one is actually DeAndre Swift. He's not really had the touchdown side, but
that's the only thing on this format. But
he's just getting so much usage in and around the goal line that sooner or later he's going to have that like 2 touchdown, 3 touchdown game. Just there's so much of the tush push variance is just them being within that 3-yard line, where it's like if they're starting to score from the 5, 6, 7,
right. Right. All right. Well, I want to get into
a
draft.
But just the one final. If you really want to go hunting, would probably be Gus Edwards against Arizona in a matchup where could easily get the 2-3 touchdown outcome that you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And then finally, we'll just look at receivers. We know the top is loaded. Quite honestly, the middle is loaded,
Yeah.
With Thielen, Nakua, Ayuk, Waddle, Collins, Addison,
Yeah.
Kirk,
Oh, yeah.
It's just absolutely loaded. Garrett Wilson, the Pittsburgh receivers. Is there any like sleeper receivers that you like? And then I do want to get into a draft. I like Josh Downs. I don't mind him. No touchdown. I guess the touchdown. I don't know what but he's getting targeted a lot from Minshew. But go ahead. Who do you like down there?
Yeah, I think you can make a case for either of those Colts guys, just where they are. They do seem to kind of oscillate. One or the other kind of gets there.
Yeah. Lockett, it's really low. I know he didn't have a great game.
Yeah. I would say two that other stand out are Drake London against Tennessee. I mean, we know how bad the Tennessee secondary is. He's still, just shown a lot. Hasn't had the touchdown variance break his way, but again, it just takes one. I mean, we know like efficiency wise, there's just not going to be a ton of touchdowns throughout the season for London, but if they're going to come, it's going to be in a game like this.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pass funnel. Yeah.
And then finally, it was Thursday night. It was so ugly, so bad. But that Denver Kansas City game, now that this is playing on a Sunday, just a couple weeks later, I think we see a better version of Russ, and probably just more, won't be the Harrison Buckner field goal fest that it was that Thursday. So, Cortland Sutton, I mean, he had an amazing touchdown catch that game.
Yeah. He had a touchdown last week too. This past week.
I mean, he is the better receiver than Jerry Jeudy, and they should just get the ball in his hand.
Just ask Steve Smith.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean,
he has opinions about it.
So I just think they need to get the ball in his hands more, and in what is probably likely a very trailing game script, instead of the 6 targets he's been getting, I mean, hopefully that goes up to like 10, and he gets just that higher usage. But it's like he's actually been really good on a per target basis for them. It's just he's just they're not scheming him enough. But that would just be kind of the shot that I would take if I was going really low because he's a guy who in this, however many entries this is, he might be in, 1,000 lineups at that.
Right. All right. You ready to jump in one?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So again, we covered kind of a recap of week 7, what kind of worked. Again, it's going to be slate dependent every week as to who you kind of wanted in round 1, 2, 3, down to 6. And it's not going to be, a carbon copy every week, but we really do lean into the 2 running back. We really aren't married to the ADP and are going to go rank off our rankings. And, if you see an outlier at a onesie position like a Kelsey, or anything else, take advantage of it and don't force game stacks. I think those 4 things are going to be key, and we will try to accomplish the same thing here. 67,000 entries. So, someone like Donta Foreman or, it did this last week too.
Yeah,
sorry.
You have to like exit out and go back in. It happens to me sometimes. It's very annoying.
Okay. Well, talk more about as I'm getting back to it.
So no, and I think especially when we're talking, there are no buys, there are no international games.
Great point.
It's just your typical Thursday, Sunday night, Monday night thing. So only 3 games, only 6 teams are off this main slate. So this is pretty deep, and also most of the star teams are on this slate. Miami, Kansas City, Philly, these are like the elite offenses that we want to target. Baltimore. So I mean, sure, the Bills are not on, and a couple others, but so I think there are a lot of star power, and even the secondary pieces that we know sure aren't as consistent. And we'll check injuries on like a Jalen Waddle or something like that.
Oh, but, we got number 1.
There we
go. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Oh, no, we didn't. It was registering. We've done how many, like 100 plus underdog drafts this summer. I've already been doing a ton of these battle royales. you think I'd know the process with Underdog. And I saw it sitting there at the first position, and I literally had thought it had already registered. It did not. And yeah, it's starting in 36 seconds, and we are pick 4. So, wow, that was disappointing because I got really, really excited that we had the first pick. So we do not. We have the 4th pick. So, you know, I'm guessing McCaffrey, and just to kind of speculate and plan here. And now, of course, I'm having scrolling issues. Excuse me. I'm guessing Kelsey and McCaffrey will be gone. Likely Hill. So maybe not, though. I mean, so I would say we're going to be in that sweet spot for the receivers. And yeah, if it's those 3 go, I would say AJ Brown or Cooper Kupp. And I'm fine with either because yes, Cooper Kupp broke my week and let me down big time. But I don't think that's happening every week. I certainly don't. I think that was an outlier and not a norm. And, you know, I'm fine going right back to the well on Cooper Kupp. So I'm fine with, AJ Brown went second. So, so it's, well, I mean, if McCaffrey's there, we're taking McCaffrey.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be massive. But if not, then we'll decide between Hill and Kupp. Let's see what happens here. So. Nope. Yeah, they took McCaffrey. Okay, so Hill or Kupp for me.
I'd go Hill.
Okay, I was leaning that too.
Because
I love them both. I love them both. But go ahead.
People will look and say, "Oh, the Patriots are the one team that's really slowed down Hill." Bills kind of did also, but people forget that was with Christian Gonzalez, you know, the rookie phenom, and he's out. He's injured.
Oh, that's a great point.
Matthew Judon, the Patriots' best pass rusher, was in that game. He did put some pressure on Tua. He's out. So, you know, Patriots are just not the same team without those 2 guys.
Absolutely. And that's an excellent point that I think a lot of people, you know, it's not always a copy and paste from the first matchup. Even just a couple of weeks ago, we're up next and we've got a boatload of running backs.
Hurts just went. So,
okay. So you were hoping to get one of the stud running quarterbacks.
Well, I think Hurts and we ended up with Hill. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm fine. Anyways, 14 seconds.
Etienne. I think Etienne is
that's
the
what that's what I was hoping you'd say. I had all these running backs queued, and let's look at the board real quick and see where we'll be up next. I'm going to minimize this. I'm having problems seeing the whole board. Can you still see it? Okay.
Yeah.
I just have to be able to scroll. Okay, so we obviously went Hill, Etienne, and then we're up again at 16 and 21. So as you can see, it went Kelsey, AJ Brown, McCaffrey, Hill, Kupp, Chase, the 2 quarterbacks, Mahomes, Hurts. I went Etienne, Lamar just went, and then we're back at the turn. And again, I'll be up at 16 and 21. So we've got these running backs queued. I have Tua queued. So in a perfect world, I'll tell you my perfect world. My perfect world would be Breece Hall, Tua. Tua just went. Damn, people are on it. Did this guy get Waddle? Wait, they just took Breece Hall too? Man, they're getting all my plays. Sorry, I losing my cool there. I got so excited about when Tua and Breece Hall, and they went back to back. So, so with 1 pick left, we have Mostert and Pollard on the board. We did talk about other running backs later. So, you know, then you got like the Thielen, Nacua range quarterbacks, you know, Lawrence Tech. Like, I don't know if you want to wait on quarterback. I don't feel like we need to. I mean, all these quarterbacks have an ADP of 34. So I think it's silly to draft a quarterback now.
Yeah.
Because, some people are going to reach for a guy like Tua. That's Tua, you know. So, yeah. Okay. So
I would go Pollard.
Okay. Is Rams run defense you'd like to target that?
Yeah. I mean, I think
you don't think like stack up the 2 Dolphins in that way.
No,
okay.
No, just because I
just hope that Hill has the massive game basically. Yeah. Okay. So we got our 2 running backs and a stud 2 running backs at that in this build with Etienne and Pollard. We got Tyreek Hill. We obviously were not able to stack him with Tua. Tua was drafted before us. So obviously, we can't draft another running back. Mostert just went. So we want to take a quarterback, a receiver, and a tight end. So receivers, you have Thielen, We're not going to take us Waddle when we don't have. So Thielen just went. We're on the clock. Ayuk, Waddle, Nico Collins, Addison, and then tight ends. You got Goddard, Kittle, and then quarterbacks.
I like Goddard there, or maybe Nico.
You'd go that over Ayuk?
Yeah.
You'd go Goddard over Kittle too.
Yeah.
Okay.
In this matchup.
All right. Well, we got it. So that's another situation where I think a lot of these top tight ends could stand out. There's a lot of tight ends that I like this week up top, even after Kelsey. I think Kittle without Debo, Goddard, the Mark Andrews. There's a lot of spots to Hawkinson. The guys that went before, we got Goddard. So we have running backs done, tight ends done. We need one more receiver and a quarterback. So let's go over and queue some up just to check. We are going to be up at pick 28 and 33. Actually, let's talk about really quick, again, up in 3. What quarterback, it doesn't look like we're going to, we could stack Lawrence with ETN. I don't know if that makes sense in this situation. We could stack Dak with Pollard, same situation.
Is Nico still there? You could do Stroud and Nico.
You really think Stroud? I guess against that Carolina defense.
I mean, Stroud has had like over 270 yards in every game. He just hasn't had. He didn't
last game. I just looked. That was the only one last game. I mean, they're coming off a bye. They're going against the Carolina defense. I hear what you're saying. You don't want Ayuk against Cincinnati and with the whole without Debo. I know he didn't get there last night. It certainly killed us on some props, but excuse me. I actually like Dak too a lot.
Yeah, I like Dak.
I'm going to cue both these guys. Okay, so it's Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins, Dak, Stroud. We got to decide 19 seconds.
I would go Nico. I think Nico is going to be
regardless if who we go on. Okay, you'd go Nico over Ayuk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like that one lineup, I don't think we necessarily have to stack. I actually like Dak as well, and
I like Dak better.
Pollard, stack side of that. And I mean,
hey, he could. I mean, he had that long pass to Pollard that Pollard almost punched into the end zone,
almost had that other touchdown to Pollard near the end. They just missed it, just out of Pollard's reach. Pollard almost had a smash game. That would be like a 35-yard touchdown catch.
Right. So yeah, I say we go for Dak. If he gets taken, we have a backup stack already lined up with Stroud. So we're one pick away.
No, I like it.
I like it. Yeah. Okay. But you made a great point on Stroud. Okay, Dak's there, so we're gonna grab him. I talked about that today in another show, how I just could see that game going over. I think they're two offenses that are just a little off, not quite there, but would you be surprised if that game, ended up going, 10, 15 points over? I wouldn't be at all.
Oh yeah, and I mean I do think the Cowboys defense is legitimately good, but if you look, obviously they are on bye this week, but if you look at that Monday night game against the Chargers and you just watched like the drives, you would think that game was like a 35 to 31 game.
Right. Right.
Just the way that those teams were able to move the ball on each other. And of course, again, Dallas has the better defense, but I mean Dallas especially really should have been able to put on the points. So I could see them coming off the bye, having a really big game, and the Rams. I think the big thing is, can they keep Stafford upright versus that big time Cowboys pass rush? But if so, I mean, we know he's got weapons. So
yeah. Well, let me just read it and summarize, and then we can head on out of here. But this has been another fun battle royale for week 8. I think we broke down everything pretty well, our strategies, our rankings, and then, seeing it all play out in a live draft is always super fun. So we are obviously got Hill first. We were hoping stack with Tua. That didn't work. Then we went back-to-back running backs with ETN Pollard. Then we grabbed Goddard to get one of the top echelon tight ends. And then got Nico Collins and Dak. So Dak, ETN, Pollard, Tyreek Hill, Nico Collins, Dallas Goedert. I think that is very balanced. It still is correlated a little bit with Pollard. And, bottom line is I think it's targeting a lot of the games and usage that I like. Any final thought? What are the final
Well,
thoughts for you?
the other thing with it is, I mean, with the exception of Nico in that Houston offense, which has been such a huge surprise, we're targeting some of the best offenses that we projected coming into the year, and Jaguars and Cowboys especially. Like Jaguars, if the end zone was a foot and a half wider, the Jaguars would have like another 10 touchdowns this year. And the Cowboys have just been so close on so many drives. Their red zone efficiency has been an issue. So I mean, both those teams could easily that light could turn on, and they could be the teams that we saw last year.
Exactly. Yeah, I 100% agree. So, okay. Well, I'm happy with our team, Steve. I really, really like it. I'll would love to split 30K with you this Sunday, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching another Battle Royale. We're going to be doing this each week, early in the week. Tuesday, it'll be up by Wednesday. Steve has a weekly article Wednesday with his rankings. So again, you'll see it's not always what ADP. It's you got to make your own rankings, and you'll see Steve's rankings and reasons why. So check that out every Wednesday on fanspeak.com. Everything's free, and be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Fanspeak Network to watch this every single week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Good luck. For Steve, I'm Meg, and we'll see you next time.